Before we dive in, hit subscribe if you dare, because the story you're about to hear has left seasoned investigators sleepless, and it's one of the darkest cases ever linked to the top 10 most dangerous in the U.S. prison system. Now, let's begin. The night it all unraveled, the storm had already taken out half the power grid across northern Nevada. Emergency lines were jammed, patrol units were scattered, and the desert highways were nearly pitch black. At 11:43 p.m., Deputy Alan Mercer responded to what he thought was a routine welfare check at a rundown trailer 10 miles outside Carson Ridge. But the moment he stepped out of his cruiser, he felt it, that cold, metallic certainty that something was very, very wrong. The trailer door was ajar. Inside, a lantern flickered weakly on a table, casting warped shadows across the walls. And there, in the center of the room, was a butcher's twine circle on the floor, 8 pieces of twine cut precisely, placed like compass points. No body. No footprints. Just an old cassette recorder still hissing with static. When Mercer pressed rewind, a voice crackled through the speaker, calm and detached. "They're gone. All 8 of them. And you're too late." That single sentence detonated the investigation. Within hours, local authorities contacted the state, and the state contacted the federal system. Because the message matched the exact pattern, the cadence, the phrasing, even the eerie calm, of someone law enforcement hoped they'd never hear from again. Elias Crow. Known in the Bureau's internal files as the Whisperer, one of the 10 most dangerous inmates ever held in the U.S. maximum security system. A man infamous for orchestrating crimes he never physically committed. His influence had once stretched through prisons, gangs, and isolated rural communities, leaving investigators guessing where his voice ended and his followers began. But Elias Crow was supposed to be locked inside Blackstone Supermax, under 24-hour surveillance. And yet, the cassette in that trailer used his exact voice. Special Agent Mara Delaney of the FBI's Behavioral Analysis Unit arrived on scene by dawn. She'd once spent 2 years studying Crow, trying to decode how he manipulated people without ever lifting a weapon. She'd read every letter he'd written, every interview transcript, every psychological evaluation. And now, staring at the 8 pieces of twine, she felt a familiar nausea in her gut. "This is his signature," she whispered. "But he's not here. Someone is doing this for him." The missing persons reports came crashing in next. 8 individuals, unrelated, unknown to each other, abducted in a perfectly timed 6-hour window across 3 counties. All vanished without witnesses, without struggle, without any connection, except for one chilling detail. Every one of them had a family member who once worked inside Blackstone Supermax. A retaliatory pattern. A message. Delaney's team found their first trace of the victims at 3:12 p.m., a series of shallow footprints leading into a dry wash 2 miles from the trailer. But halfway down the ravine, the trail simply ended. No struggle. No drag marks. Nothing human, except for a small, folded note tied to a dead sagebrush stem. 8 down. 1 to go. The note was written in the same precise hand Elias Crow had used years before. But Delaney knew the truth. Crow couldn't have written it. Not from inside a facility that monitored every movement. Which meant someone on the outside had access to his handwriting samples. Someone with clearance. Someone with a badge. As the sun disappeared and the desert turned black again, one of Delaney's agents radioed her in a trembling voice. "Ma'am, we found a hidden door in the ravine. You need to get down here now. We don't know where it leads, but there's blood on the handle." And when Delaney reached that door and forced it open, what she saw changed everything. The moment the steel door groaned open, a wave of cold, stale air hit the agents like a physical force. It wasn't the temperature that made them step back, it was the smell. Metallic. Damp. It was the kind of air that belonged in a place where no one had breathed in years. Agent Delaney lifted her flashlight and stepped inside first. The tunnel sloped downward, carved out of bedrock, reinforced with timber beams that looked decades old. "This was built by hand," she whispered. "Someone spent years on this." Footsteps echoed behind her as the team advanced deeper. Faint droplets dripped somewhere far ahead, each one clicking like a metronome marking the seconds they were losing. The deeper they went, the more obvious it became. This wasn't a hideout. It was a system. A network. Someone had created an entire underground structure, hidden beneath the desert wash. They reached the end of the tunnel after 600 feet. A thick iron door blocked their path, heavy enough that 2 agents were needed to pull it open. Inside was a square room lit by a single flickering bulb suspended by frayed wires. The walls were lined with hooks, chains, and shelves filled with old prison documents, radios, and cassette tapes. Hundreds of cassette tapes. Delaney felt her throat tighten. These are Blackstone issued, from over a decade ago. But the real horror was in the center of the room. 8 chairs, bolted to the ground. 8 restraints, open. 8 small name tags, taped neatly to each seat. The names of the missing victims. The chairs were empty, but each one had dried blood on the armrests as if someone had gripped them too tightly. As Delaney leaned closer, she noticed something chilling. All the bloodstains were facing forward, like every victim had been staring at the same thing before they vanished. The 9th chair, the one without a name tag, sat slightly raised above the others. A place of authority. A place of command. As Delaney examined it, she heard one of her agents calling her over. "Ma'am, you need to see this." On the far wall, behind a metal grate, they found a single object. A speaker hooked into a battery system. Dust-covered but still functional. And taped beside it, a small note that made Delaney's stomach drop. "He doesn't need to be here to speak." It wasn't just a room. It was a broadcast chamber. Someone had been playing Elias Crow's voice, recorded or reconstructed, to the victims. Someone wanted them terrified. Someone wanted them obedient. Suddenly, a sharp beep echoed through the room. A device mounted near the pipes blinked red, then green, then red again. "That's motion triggered," an agent muttered. "Something's moving in the tunnels." The lights flickered once. Twice. Then everything went dark. Panic seized the room. Agents scrambled for flashlights. A deep grinding sound echoed through the walls. Metal shifting, stone scraping, something mechanical being activated. Delaney steadied her voice. "Everyone fall back. Exit now." But when they reached the tunnel entrance, the way out was gone. A new iron gate had slammed down from above, sealed tight. Someone had planned this. Someone knew they would find the chamber. A loudspeaker crackled to life above them. And then, the voice. The same calm, chilling voice from the cassette, but now amplified until it filled the tunnel. "Your early agent Delaney. I wasn't finished preparing the seats." Her heart froze. This wasn't a recording. Someone was watching them. One of the agents scanned the ceiling with his flashlight, and froze when the beam caught a camera lens embedded in the stone. "It's live," he whispered. "He's watching us in real time." The voice returned, softer this time. 8 down. 1 to go. You came right on schedule." Delaney's breath hitched. The 9th seat wasn't for a victim. It was for her. The tunnel lights snapped back on, but something had changed. The floor beneath them hummed, vibrating slightly as if machinery deep underground had awakened. Then the voice spoke one final sentence. "Chapter 3 begins when the floor opens." And the ground beneath Delaney's feet shifted. The floor jolted downward with a grinding shudder, splitting at the seams like the jaws of some ancient machine waking from a long sleep. Agents scrambled for footing as sections of metal grated open, revealing a second shaft beneath the chamber, a vertical drop vanishing into absolute darkness. "Hold on to the beams," Delaney shouted, gripping a support column as the floor shifted again, descending several inches like an elevator dragged by rusted chains. But the voice above them remained calm. Almost pleased. "I built this place for you, Mara. Long before you ever knew my name." Her pulse slammed against her ribs. She had profiled monsters before, killers, manipulators, people who hid malice behind ordinary faces, but Elias Crow was different. Too calculated. Too patient. And now, even from miles away inside a supermax cell, he was orchestrating a scene as if the desert itself obeyed him. The floor jerked again, a violent drop that made 2 agents lose their grip and crash onto the newly exposed platform below. Delaney climbed down to them, checking their injuries. "Just bruises. For now." A soft mechanical click echoed through the chamber. Then another. And another. Hidden lights blinked awake along the shaft walls, illuminating dusty ladders and reinforced platforms leading deeper underground. Delaney froze when she realized what she was seeing. This wasn't a trap. This was a path. The loudspeaker crackled. "You've always wanted answers, Agent Delaney. Come get them." Her team looked to her, waiting, shaken, terrified. The air buzzed with the hum of unseen machinery. "We move," Delaney ordered, her voice steady. "Slow, careful. No one goes alone." They descended 2 levels before reaching a narrow corridor chiseled into bedrock. Papers littered the floor. Old blueprints. Maps. Prison intake sheets. And in the center of the corridor sat a folding table with a radio receiver still warm to the touch. Someone had been here minutes before. An agent picked up one of the papers. "Ma'am, these are Blackstone internal schedules. Guard shifts. Transfer lists. Someone inside is feeding him everything. Delaney clenched her jaw. A mole inside the prison system. Someone with clearance, access, and loyalty to Crow. It explained everything. But before she could process it, a faint cry echoed through the tunnel. A human cry. The agents whipped around, weapons drawn. There, at the far end of the corridor, a sliding metal grate. Behind it, a shaking silhouette. Someone alive. Delaney rushed forward and pulled the grate open. Inside was a small holding cell lit by a single bulb. A man in his mid-40s, dehydrated, terrified, pressed himself into the corner. He whispered, "They took the others, they took all of them. Please don't leave me here." "Sir, we're with the FBI. What's your name?" He swallowed hard. "Daniel Crow." Delaney's blood ran cold. Crow, the same last name. Her mind raced. Elias Crow had no documented family. No relatives. No siblings. Not a single confirmed connection. Daniel stared at her with hollow eyes. "He's my brother." Before Delaney could speak, the loudspeaker crackled again, but now the voice was no longer calm. It was angry. "You weren't supposed to find him yet." Delaney spun toward the ceiling. "Elias, this ends now. Your operation, your followers, your entire network, it's over." A low, chilling laugh filled the chamber. "My operation? Agent Delaney? I've been locked in a cell for 14 years. Do you really think I built this?" She froze. The realization hit like a punch. The precision of the tunnels. The construction. The engineering. The coordination. The kidnapping operation. This wasn't the work of a prisoner calling shots through coded messages. This was the work of someone on the outside. Someone smart. Someone free. Someone with resources. Crow's voice hardened. "You studied the wrong brother." Delaney snapped her gaze back to Daniel, but he was already standing. Too steady. Too calm. The fear drained from his face like a mask slipping away. "I told you they took the others," he said softly. "I didn't say I wasn't the one who delivered them." Her stomach twisted. Daniel Crow wasn't a victim. He was the architect. He stepped forward, expression cold. "Elias gave the voice. I gave the structure. Together we built something the system could never contain." The tunnel lights suddenly flashed red. A countdown beep began. Delaney grabbed her team. "Move. Now." They sprinted back through the corridor as Daniel's laughter echoed behind them. The tunnels trembled. Dust fell from the ceiling. Machinery roared to life. But Delaney's mind raced faster than her feet. Two brothers. One in prison. One outside. One voice. One architect. And 8 missing people still unaccounted for. They burst out of the tunnel as the ground behind them buckled, sealing the entrance forever. Silence swallowed the desert. The case was far from over. In fact, it had just begun. Because 3 months later, long after Daniel Crow vanished into the American highway system, another cassette arrived at FBI headquarters. Just 2 words spoken in that cold, familiar voice. 9 down. And taped to the cassette was Daniel Crow's driver's license. A message. A warning. A promise. If you thought this story was intense, subscribe. The next one will make you question who's really pulling the strings.